Socialization-based hypothesis. Well, so the biological differences are so huge, one thing, do you need anything else? Well, of course, we do not evolve in a vacuum, and these differences make the basis for the socialization. So socialization studies, it's interesting to see that there is few solid evidence to the fact that what often people think, socializing agents encourage sex stereotypical play, at least in Western industrialized countries where people do these studies. You know, there is some of it, but it's not to the extent that one would think, you know, we raise boys to be boys. There is the biology that, and there is the background for children to prefer a truck or a doll. Okay, but there is greater emphasis on teaching empathy in girls, which may be one way. And what's even more likely than parents socializing their children to be boys or girls are the structure of peer play during childhood. So there are huge differences in peer group organization, in the type of play, in the values of friendship. So for instance, girls tend to play in more intimate groups and to play with more quiet games involving home or babies, dolls. Boys tend to be outside, more active, playing balls, doing competition activities. Girls value the intimacy of close friendships, pairs or threesome, while boys like larger groups. And also the peers reinforce different behaviors in their peers. So they tend to reinforce assertiveness and aggressiveness more in boys than girls. That's what some observational studies have shown. Social learning is likely to contribute to increasing sex differences, but it's unlikely to explain sex differences in mental health, or at least not all of it. Okay, what are the implications for intervention? So we have seen that mainly the violence that is of concern for society and for the next generation is the violence of men. But that doesn't mean that we need to work with men to reduce violence. It would rather be the opposite according to a wide range of studies in neuropsychology, in biology and psychology. Intervention studies suggest that the solution is with women. So maternal care is one of the most important determinants of one's successful development. Maternal care does not start at birth. Of course, it starts in utero with nutrition and exposure to toxic substances and teratogen. So the importance of adequate care early in life is not to show anymore. Cross-fostering studies have shown that care does not need to be provided by the biological mother necessarily. There's only some strange men say that only biological mothers can take care of their offsprings. That's not true. Care can be provided by a good caregiver. Biological mothers can be supported in their role, and that's how I see daycare, at least, because I study daycare. Okay, no, I won't start. Okay. So in the LDEC, and also in a study that was funded by CIHR in 2007, I've been looking at the role of childcare for children's development, and especially the role of childcare for vulnerable children. Children who would grow up in an environment that is otherwise that is not optimal, that can even under some circumstances be dangerous. And so what we have shown is that we have used these physical aggression trajectories as an outcome, as a variable, and examined the extent to which Okay, all kinds of family predictors, risk factor, predict membership in this trajectory, and there's things like poverty, family conflicts, low parental education, parental psychopathology, all kinds of things. We picked one of the most robust risk factor, and we examine whether for this children with this risk factor, childcare had an impact. And what we found, so we looked at maternal education, okay, but we did these analysis with maternal education. We did many others with low income, with low SES, things that are correlated with adversity, and the patterns remain essentially the same. So whether children were in childcare before 9 months, after 9 months, or never, by maternal education, and for the children who were never in childcare and who were raised by a mother who had low levels of education, controlling for a wide range of other things that happened in the family, if they went into childcare before after 9 months, their risk of high physical aggression was reduced by 2.77. And if they started even earlier, the risk was reduced by 5. Very positive effect for the children of high-risk families going into childcare. Now we can talk about what it means for me to go into childcare. I'm sorry, it doesn't mean that parents drop their child into childcare and have their child raised by somebody else. That's not that at all. But it means that at least getting out of the house and having a different environment where some stimulation is probably going on helps. Now, for those who worry about childcare, I didn't think that people worried about childcare today, but anyways, people do a lot. There is no negative impact of childcare, even early, for the children who are not from a high-risk background. And we show this result also for cognitive development, so language development, where we showed, this is the work of Marie-Claude Geoffroy, my PhD student, who's finishing soon, unfortunately. And well, it's good when you can say that, huh? Unfortunately, she's finishing. No childcare versus full-time childcare. We see that the full-time childcare reduced the gap between children of high-risk families and non-risk families when it was full-time. If it was part-time, it didn't quite do the job, but if it was full-time, it did. And we show the same thing for school readiness, reducing the gap between high-risk and low-risk children. And we see the same pattern again for pre-mathematical abilities in kindergarten. So this is LDEC data. Okay, so although males do exhibit more serious and violent types of aggressive behaviors, the evidence shows that intervention supporting mothers, this is an example, childcare is an example of supporting mothers so that they can do other things that will help them feel better or develop themselves. But it starts, of course, as the evidence shows, during pregnancy. All kinds of support programs for mothers have long-term beneficial impact. It starts, of course, even before pregnancy with the support of girls' education, because having an education for a mother will make her make all kinds of different decisions about choosing a mate and having children. And the conclusion, again, is supporting mothers, especially those who live in adverse conditions, because they are likely to reproduce the cycle of violence. Thank you.